Hi, welcome to Kindly Made Creations. I'm here to show you a little bit about how to hoop and lay your sulky stick and stitch. So your hoop comes in two separate pieces. You're going to pull out the inside piece, lay your fabric on top, whether that be linen or cotton, I find to work best. You're going to then unscrew the screw at the top just to loosen it, and sometimes you have to loosen it more than once. And then you're going to lay it on top so the bottom hoop fits neatly on the inside, and then tighten that screw. Next, you're going to pull that cotton or linen fabric so it fits tight inside the circle. No, you don't want any wrinkles or folds inside because that will impact the way your embroidery turns out. You want to make sure that it's taut kind of like a drum. And you also want to make sure that it's tight and that all pieces of loose thread and dust are removed, because that will impact the way that your sulky stick and stitch sticks. So then you pull out your pattern, PDF printed pattern from my website or somewhere else, and you're going to pull it and lay it just like a sticker. Make sure it lays flat and that there's no wrinkles. Next, you're going to need a needle, a pair of scissors, and some thread to get you started. You're going to want to knot the opposite end of your needle thread so when it pulls through. The easiest way to get thread out without it tangling is finding your barcode and pulling out from that end on that side. There you go. You're going to cut it and you're going to tie a knot at the end. And this is how you're going to get started with your thread. Threading your needle, finding the eye, and taking it and just pushing it through, leaving a little tail. The first stitch we're going to start with is called a running back stitch. You're going to come up at the first point and go down about 1/8 of an inch forward. Pull your needle and string all the way through until it's kind of taut, but don't pull too tight. You're then going to go about another 1/8 of an inch forward. It's going to leave a little gap in there. And you're going to find the last point of your first stitch and pull it all the way through. And you're going to continue to repeat that process. About 1/8 of an inch forward, back down through the end of that last stitch, filling that gap. You're going to repeat this. Best to stay right on the line to kind of give you a straight look. Just like that. Come back down all the way through. Here's how you're going to finish your running back stitch. So you're going down again to fill that gap. And now you're going to flip over your hoop. And this is what it's going to look like on the back on most stitches, depending what they are. To finish off the back, you're going to go over the last stitch, create a hoop, stick your needle through, and pull tightly. You're going to do this twice. For stitches that run long ways, like the running back stitch, you're going to weave under without going through the fabric to just create an extra hold. It just makes it look a little cleaner too. So once you go through, I don't know, about 5 or 6 stitches, go ahead and cut that off. And that's what that looks like. The next stitch we're going to be doing is the satin stitch. You can see I come up again through the back after I've created that knot at the end of the thread. And you're going to come down straight across, right where my needle is pointing. And then you're going to pull through. You want to make sure you don't pull too tight because that will distort the fabric. Right here I'm using 6 strands, but for a cleaner look, you can use 3, 2, or even 1 stitch or thread. So I came up right next to it, and now I'm going to go back up to the top and pull through again. And this is going to create a great filled space. So if you're looking for things that you want to fill in, a satin stitch is a great way to do that. The less thread does give it a cleaner look, I think, and it also adds more detail. So again, just keep going up 1, down straight across. Sometimes it's easier if you have a ruler and a friction pen, a heat erase pen, that you can draw straight lines down just to kind of help give you a guide. And again, once you finish this, you will tie off in the back just like in our previous stitch. And this is what your satin stitch will end up looking like. The next stitch we're going to be working on is called a stem stitch, and there are 2 parts to this stitch. First, you're going to start exactly like you did in the running back stitch. So again, pull through after you've made the knot, go down, pull all the way through. Again, don't pull too tight. You don't want your stitches to pucker. And you're going to do this again, pull up and then fill that gap. And you're going to do this for the length of whatever line or pattern you're doing. Once you've made it to the end of your line doing that running back stitch that we learned earlier, you're going to come down all the way through. Again, pull all the way down to fill that gap. And then you're going to find the very end. And you're going to come back up through. Now you can either use the point of your needle or flip it around and use the back end. I find that with thread like this, it's easy to get caught under the sulky stick and stitch or even to go through the fabric. So right now you're not going to go through the fabric. Each one of those stitches you made, you're going to go underneath and pull it tight. This is going to create that stem look. And it's basically you're just weaving. You always come back to the same side. Continue doing this through the length of the line that you had made with that running back stitch. Again, at the end, pull all the way through and tie off on the back, and you have a stem stitch. Again, once you've made it to the end, you've completed that stem, put your needle down in the last spot where you initially first came in. Now we're going to do this one a little bit different. I'm going to split the thread. Each DMC thread is made of 6 individual strands, and I'm going to split them in half, so 3 strands. 3 strands gives more detailed look, a smaller look, a thinner stem. It's really just personal preference and how you like to do things. So you'll see at the end how there is one with 6 strands and one with 3 strands. Again, you're just going to tie your knot, thread your needle, and start stitching. Now we are going to start the chain stitch, and this is the stitch I probably use the most often. I use it for letters, words, I use it for outlines. I also use it for sometimes stems of flowers. So you're going to come up in the middle of your first stitch, and you are going to go down through the same hole that you came up in. And you're going to go about 1/8 of an inch away. And do you see how I left this little hoop? I'm going to put the needle through the hoop and pull the thread. Now I'm not going to pull it too tight because that'll create puckering. You're then going to go back down through that same stitch you just made, creating another loop. Again, come up through the loop and pull. And this is how you do a chain stitch. And you just repeat it until you've gone the length of whatever you're making. Again, back down through the previous stitch, up about a 1/8 of an inch away. Make sure that the needle is in the hoop and pull tight. Now we're going to finish this chain stitch. You've come up through your loop and made your stitch. And you're going to come down just outside with a straight stitch. Now we're going to do our basket weave stitch. You're going to start down at the lowest point or highest point, and you're going to make, I have right now, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 parallel stitches. Come up through, find the point on the other end to make sure that these lines are straight and even. Do not pull too tight. This will distort the basket. The next step is weaving through the basket. As you can see, I've started a couple just for you to get an example. But you're going to start at the very end of your first parallel line. And you're going to weave over, under, over, under. I use the back end of my needle so it doesn't get caught as much. So under, over, under, and then you pull through. Again, do not pull too tight because this will distort the basket. See, I pulled it too tight. And then I push it down just a little bit so it stays together. Now, look at your previous stitch. If you started over, you go down through right where you ended, and then you'll come up right next to that to start your next weave. So if you ended under on your last stitch, you will start the basket weave over on your next line. So you can see I've pulled through and I ended under, so I'm going to start over. And then under, over, under, over, under. Pull tight. You can see here where I came out and where I'm going to pull my needle down through. Now we're going to start with the woven rows. And this is actually probably the second stitch I learned to do. You're going to make 5 spokes. So I start on the outside, some people start on the inside. I start on each line, I bring it up, and I go down through the middle, creating 5 spokes. You can do 3 or 7, but it does have to be an uneven number. The next step, once you finish that final spoke, is to come up in the middle, but not right at the center. So very close to it, but not right at the center. And then using, again, either the front or the back of your needle, whichever you like to do, start weaving. Going over and under, just like you did in the basket stitch, except now we're going around in a circle. So I'm going over, under. So you'll skip one, so over, under. Again, over that one, under the next one. And you'll keep repeating this until all 5 spokes are completely covered. Now that all 5 spokes are completely covered, you see it kind of gives a little rosette look. You will go over the next stitch, pull down all the way through, and tie off on the back. The next stitch we're going to do is called a lazy daisy, and this is one of the first ones I learned. So you're going to come up through the center, and just like a chain stitch, you're going to go back down through that center. Be careful of the knot in the back. You don't want to go through or you won't be able to pull your needle all the way through. Again, you'll find the end of the petal, come up, and you've created your loop. The needle's going to go in the middle, and you're going to pull. Again, not too tight. You don't want anything to pucker. But whereas you, with a chain stitch, you go back in, this you're going to make that straight stitch on the outside of the petal, like you would to finish a chain stitch. And you're going to repeat that process again, up through the middle, back down through that same hole, or very close to it. Make your loop, come up at the end of the petal, pull, and again, make a little straight stitch on the outer side of that petal to anchor it down. Complete this process for all 5 petals, and then in the middle you will put a French knot, which I will show you to do next. This stitch right here is called the French knot, and everybody I think does this just a little bit different. So you're going to take your needle and wrap it around 3 times, and then you are going to bring the string under, the thread under, and pull down through. Let me show you that one more time. So come up through the bottom, pull your string tight, wrap 1, 2, 3, pull the thread under, and go straight down through. Again, come up, pull your string tight with your left hand, wrap 1, 2, 3, pull the string under, and go straight down through. And this is the stitch that goes in the middle of your lazy daisy. This next stitch is going to be a fishbone stitch. You're going to start at the top of your, what I would call a leaf, and go about halfway down, making 1 straight stitch. Pull down all the way through till you have 1 little line. And now you're going to alternate back and forth from the left to the right. So I've started on the left side, and you're going to bring it down at a slight angle and cross just over the midsection of the last stitch you made. Pull all the way through. move on to the right side, all the way up through at the top, and just slightly below that first stitch you made. And maybe a little to the side. Again, cross over, pull down all the way through. Again, to the left side, slightly to the left of that previous stitch and down a tiny bit, and then again cross. Back to the right side, same thing. And you're just going to kind of work your way down and around. You're just going to keep repeating this until you have filled in your entire leaf. So finishing up, looking at a closer angle, you can kind of see the texture. This one I've done has 6 strands of DMC thread, but on the other two I used 3. It just gives it a little more detail, a little bit finer, and it looks a little bit cleaner.